Title: The Echo in the Ring. Setting: Turnberg, on the cusp of a new academic year. The story begins. The mountains that cradled Arthur Greenster's home did not whisper. They mourned. Standing at the edge of the funeral crowd, Arthur watched the gray waters of the River Arn take Marcus Tye. The current was strong this high in the foothills, and it snatched the small, flower-woven bier, carrying the body of his classmate towards the capital, towards the sea, towards whatever waited beyond. Arthur pulled the collar of his woolen coat tighter. The wind bit hard here, a constant reminder that he lived on the very lip of Turnberg, where the kingdom gnawed at the bones of the mountains. His father, a man of simple hands and simple faith, stood a few paces back, hat in hand. He didn't know why Arthur had insisted on coming. Arthur didn't quite know either. He just knew that looking at Marcus's hands, folded peacefully on his chest during the viewing, something had been wrong. He hadn't seen the missing finger then, hidden beneath the linen shroud. He'd heard about it later, in the hushed, horrified whispers of the adults. Strangled by the river. His index finger, gone. Cut clean. Arthur looked down at his own hands. Human hands, his father assured him. Broad palms, sturdy fingers perfect for the carpentry his dad practiced. But his reflection in the dark water was different. The sharp, upswept point of his ear. The unnerving pallor of his skin, like milk thinned with water. His mother's legacy. A woman he never knew, whose nature remained a locked door in his heart. He was 17. In 1 week, he would return to the academy in the capital for his penultimate year. The year of the choosing. The year he would have to look at a list of classes, technician, medic, warrior, artisan, 100 others, and pick the lock of his own life. He had no idea what waited on the other side. As a child, he'd dreamed of being a luthier. He loved the idea of coaxing music from dead wood, of carving runes into the soundboard that would make the notes hang in the air like fireflies. But that was a child's dream. Practicality was the luxury of men with certain futures. The crowd dispersed. His father touched his shoulder. "Son, we should go." "I'll catch up, Dad." His father hesitated, then nodded, his own grief a quiet, steady thing. Arthur waited until the last black coat had vanished over the hill, until the only sound was the river's relentless argument with the stones. Then he walked downstream. He didn't know what he was looking for. A clue? The police had already combed the banks. They'd declared it a random tragedy, a vagrant or a beast from the mountain passes. But why take the finger? Why leave the body in the open? The ground was soft. He found the spot easily, the churned mud, the yellow tape now snapping loose from a birch branch. He knelt, the cold seeping through the knees of his trousers. That's when he saw it. It wasn't shining. It wasn't calling out to him in some dramatic, otherworldly voice. It was just there, half buried in the silt, catching a sliver of weak sun. A ring of dark, unpolished metal. Arthur reached out, his fingers closing around it. The moment skin touched metal, the world exhaled. It wasn't a sound. It was the absence of sound. The river forgot to flow. The wind held its breath. And in his palm, the cold, rough circle of iron began to writhe. Arthur gasped, but he didn't let go. He watched, transfixed, as the metal softened. It flowed like water, like molten silver, reshaping itself. The crude band thinned, elongated, smoothed. The iron gray brightened to a warm, honeyed amber. When it stopped moving, Arthur was no longer holding a ring. He was holding a violin bow. It was exquisite. The wood, was it wood? Was warm in his hand, perfectly balanced. The frog of the bow was inlaid with a swirling pattern of pearl that seemed to shift when he looked at it directly. He wasn't a musician. He'd never held a proper bow in his life. But his fingers settled into the grip as if returning home after a long journey. And when he drew the bow across the empty air, a note sang out. It was high, pure, and it cut through the gloom like a lighthouse beam. The air around the bow shimmered, and the muddy bank was suddenly, briefly, dusted with frost that melted the instant he stopped. Arthur stared at the object in his hand. His heart was a frantic drum against his ribs. This was magic. Not the stuttering, theoretical cantrips they learned in first-year theory of ethos. This was real. Intent manifest. He didn't understand what he was holding, or why it had chosen to become this. But he knew, with a certainty that sat deep in his bones, that this was what Marcus had died for. And whoever had killed him hadn't found it.